Hello, welcome to the AstroPub, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul, Berserker 01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. I got a question for you who are here live. Hold on. There we go. How's my audio? I've been futzing with it to make sure it's better. You can probably hear the clickety clacks. Let me fix something real quick. Sending me stuff. Looks like you can pick up more stuff now. Hold on. Okay, that feels bad. That's better. There's no sound when I don't speak. That's good. I'm going to close. So I'm futzing around with things to make sure that it works because I'm trying to get the hold time and the release time down a little bit. I'm trying to make sure you can still hear me without hearing my clicky clacks all the time. Hello, welcome. How y'all doing? Hopefully my mic is still good. Who's ready to get triggered by today's topic? I mean, hey, the idea is to have a very controversial title to get people to click and or comment before they watch. But the actual discussion is going to be pretty level-headed because the discussion is not around that A Line in Mine is a total failure. But there are definitely some serious issues and problems with A Line in Mine as it stands. One of the biggest issues, we talked about this in the captain's table, or the captain's table, on the office hours, is that there's too few spaces. There needs to be more variety because when you pool everybody into two locations, right now you're just going to attract the people who are there to just shit in everybody's cereal in those two places. And when you lock PvE rewards behind a PvPvE location, it becomes, you're basically isolating a bunch of people who won't participate at all, rather than trying to encourage people to maybe participate. Yes, you came here because of clickbait. And the problem is that CIG has very little ability to actually test to see how well these systems work, because their testing system doesn't allow for PvP. So there's no real way of judging PvP in the systems they have in place. And you fell for it, exactly. Over and over, we're told this is for large orgs. Why wouldn't we feel inclined to participate in circumstances? Unless we're in said large orgs. Well, and that's the thing, is that this isn't just for large orgs, though, because even though this event is for large orgs, they want to do the Rayari quests for the B plot line. So if you want to participate in the storyline, you have to participate in the line in mine. And if you want to participate in the new Banu, mission giver, you have to participate in the line or mine. So effectively, you're being forced to do any of the new content added to the game. You have to be which isn't designed necessarily for large orgs. You have to go to this location, which I understand is at least partially intentional because CSU wants players to be bouncing off one another. But if that's the case, you need to make it less likely that you're going to just get shit on because you're playing the game. I love Jumptown. Jumptown is fantastic, but Jumptown shouldn't be mandatory for people to play the game, to play your story. There needs to be more options for players who aren't going to be involved in large PvP content, because it's a sandbox environment. So there needs to be more sandbox things. I heard, yeah, I watched Space Tomato, and he was showing off the trailer. So in an update from Thursday, I did pull the trigger and purchased a 9070 XT from Newegg because they were bundling it with a it's a gigabyte 9070 XT, and they were bundling it with a gigabyte motherboard. And I'm like, I use gigabyte motherboards anyways. I like gigabyte generally. That's just sort of my Superman curl showing up again. They're just generally my bag. That's what most of my motherboards are, gigabyte. So 9070, not 9700, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's more than just the 16 gigabytes of VRAM. It's also the fact that it's set for the newer versions of their with FSR and stuff like that. So while that's not supported now, this is the rig that I'm going to be playing Squadron on, effectively. And the other thing is that this is a future-proof rig, because the base motherboard is an AM5 motherboard, and I have an AM5 CPU. So if I need to change a CPU, I won't be I don't have to get a brand new freaking motherboard in the next 2 generations of AMD chips in order for me to upgrade my CPU, which means I don't need to completely overhaul everything. AM5 is only like 2 generations old, and on top of that, AM5 is going to be continued to be the slot for the next 1 to 2 generations of AMD cards, or AMD chips. So effectively, if I need to update in the next 2 to 3 years, or even in the next 5 years, which is what I've been doing for this is about a 5-year-old rig, I should be able to PC of Theseus it, where I can just replace the CPU or replace the GPU rather than having to buy a brand new rig. That's the key. It's okay. I'm probably just going to play Atlas instead because it's a far better game than SC. What's Atlas? Oh, Atlas, the Ark shipbuilding game. That one? It's a good game, yeah. I'm gonna play this patch. I'm gonna use a geo to mine new minables and the ones lit around the verse, but not the ones found in PvP traps. No, Atlas isn't the crypto game. Atlas is it's a pirate sort of version of Arc, where you can build your own ships and all that kind of stuff. It's built in. It's actually got multi. Ironically, it is a server meshed game. Each map is its own server, but they don't have seamless transitions. You just got whitelisted for the dark side. I used to play on Dark Side Atlas. It was good. Hey, Hodden Eater. I know it's in the abandoned Arc game, but like Dark Side has been updating it on their own with their own servers pretty frequently. Got to get a handle on this Superman curl. You think the Vanguard Harbinger will get a boost soon? Probably not for a while. It's a good idea. Star Citizen is not in a position where I think CIG is, or the game is ready for anyone beyond the hardcore fan base. I think it's generic. Like calling everyone who plays Star Citizen right now murder hobos is like calling everyone who doesn't play Star Citizen bobs. They're equally a generalized terminology. You are the hardcore fan base. Listen. Don't take this the wrong way, said Lady Space Patrol. But the number of times I've seen players who got disillusioned from Star Citizen who said, I am this fan base. If I leave, Star Citizen's going to fail. I would have enough money. If I had a nickel every time that happened, I would be a billionaire. It's always important. And I have to keep my own ego in check. If I don't like something, I can say, hey, CIG, this sucks. But if I leave, I will be replaced. I am not irreplaceable. The vast majority of the Star Citizen fan base doesn't know who I am. Every content creator, every player is replaceable until CIG manages to fuck up and piss off the entirety of their fan base in some monumental screw up. All of us are replaceable. So it's always, I use that as an excuse to say, sometimes you just got to leave Star Citizen. Sometimes it's just like, leave Star Citizen and come back and check to see if it's good, because if CIG fucks up, CIG fucks up. Just move on. We can only be in control of our own lives, nobody else's. Play of the weekend like a deadbeat parent. I can't tell you how many games I've gone back to and played well after the release. What's a Bob? It's basically another way of saying NPC. As far as I can tell, it comes from the old marathon term. Bobs in Marathon were called born-on boards. So they were basically, because the Marathon ship in Marathon was a generation ship. So there were most of the people on the Marathon were born on the ship and had died on the ship. And they were basically the generic Marines from Halo. But like the idea was that they were even more replaceable because they were just given guns and told to defend the ship, but they had no idea what they were doing. And so it's a nice way of calling someone an NPC. You know how in people say you had that's NPC behavior kind of thing? Yeah, it's like mob, but it's a shooter version, the FPS way of saying mob. It's just another way, you know, how we the people used to call all PvPers psychopaths, and PvPers used to call all non-PvPers Care Bears. It's the same thing. I'm gonna miss this NVIDIA overlay. I just discovered this existed, and I was like, damn, I wish I had that. It's a really good little thing. Hopefully there's one for AMD as well. Daring Cold. Did Hathor with my org last night. Had a good PvPvE. It's doable if you have people to play with. And I think that's also another issue. I just got to figure out the key for it to have that upload up there. The idea behind the Hathor missions, the Align and Mind missions, the critique comes from a video by Red J, who's actually going to be on the show today. And Red J's critique stems from the idea, and we'll watch it before we go live, at least part of it, because it's like 30 minutes long, who basically says the problem isn't PvP. Red J is not saying PvP bad. What Red J is saying is that CIG doesn't really have a good way of testing PvP because of how their testing system works. Like, for instance, it is against the rules in Evocati for you to participate in PvP without consent. So if you have something like Align in Mind, the Evocati members aren't going to be able to do Align in Mind unless they can get a bunch of people together to test it. So you have to get permission to do so. And I'm just going to do one mission here before we go, because it's well, maybe 2 missions. We'll see. And that, while I was watching it, it brought up other ideas, which I've been hearing other people talk about, and I think I agree with generally, which is that one of the major problems is that as a player of these sorts of games that the Line in Mind is set up for, which is the sort of experience where there is an environmental danger, but the biggest danger is other players. That sort of experience could still be done by 1 or 2 people, and they could do so while there are larger groups around if they were careful and they were smart about it. Problem is that the way that Align in Mind is created, it doesn't work.
Vehicle selected. That your vehicle has been revisited again.
I didn't mind phone that while on the run. It's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm gonna go down to get myself another tractor beam. So one of the biggest, have y'all been using a different mine laser on the Geo? I haven't, no. I do want to use the Geo for its intended purpose, but I haven't had a chance to because I'm not much of a miner. But I like the Geo because it's dangerous. Oh no, I mean it's dangerous to other people. What you don't know is you can basically one-shot kill another player with it. It is one of the most deadly weapons in the game. So like quite literally it is sort of broken if you want to use it, and the fact that it's super maneuverable in terms of its jetpacking, and the only way you can really kill it is if you kill the pilot or you destroy it, and it's harder to kill the pilot. Oh, for yeah, that's a major problem right there, that the laser is just straight up broken. So you've got that problem. So it won't actually the entire mission doesn't work. So it's a lot of effort for almost nothing. And there's no alternative ways. The big thing was that there's no alternative ways to gather the resources that are needed for the event. And typically that wouldn't be a huge issue. But currently, okay.
Welcome to the Astro vehicle retrieval system. If your vehicle has been visited again.
There's no way of doing it alternative ways. You can't get the resources even in other places in significant quantities. So there's no alternative ways of achieving the same goals. And because there's so few sites, most people are concentrated in those 2 sites. I think if they increase the sites to 4 from 2, that would be diverse enough that 2 players or 3 or 4 players going in to try to achieve the same goal could achieve the same goal without significant like pushback, because it would spread out the possible the people who are there to just fuck around, there who just want to shit on people so much that it would become you still have the risk, but it would be harder to do so. You could, if you planned it out and prepared yourself, even with a small group, you could do pretty well. There's a lot of solutions to the problem, including the problem with reputation currently. It's just there's no disincentive to be a shitbag. And while like, oh yeah, of course it's a game, you don't want to punish players for playing the game. You still want to have a reason why players should or shouldn't do actions. There are 2 sites. You mean 4 different planets, moons? Yes, that's what I mean. 4 different planets and moons. There's 2 in Daymar and 2 in Aberdeen. Yeah, but there's that's still like they're both in the same location. If they doubled it, I think it would be fine. Four moons, or I don't know, 2 moons and 2 planets, like Microtech and Hurston. It's very easy to go from one side of the moon to the other. Yeah, there's no travel distance time stuff issues like there. There's nothing wrong with guaranteeing PvP, but what they should do, in fact, another easy way of fixing it is make one site the most lucrative. So you make one site that has the biggest output, guaranteed the largest output. More people will be drawn to there, whereas you have the other sites be lower output. So you won't be as effective. You won't be able to support like a large group with it, but you'd be able to support a small group with it, which means there'd be less incentive to go there, especially if you're a large group, which would then pull everyone into a PvP zone, basically. Okay. See if there's any good contracts. Is this a box mission? Try this one. What? I thought that was mine. They're gonna make different size missions? Yeah. Pyro's never felt so safe. Yeah. Nobody's here. All right. I think I screwed up here. I'm going to do this. Because from what I saw, the world first Wicklow Polaris was gotten in a significant part by hijacking caves other people had opened. Yeah, because it's the kind of players who ones who got it were the
Aerospace. All systems online.
got one. He's dead. All right. Yes, there are people who already gotten players from Wicklow, but it required 2 different orgs working together across multiple servers to try to acquire them, including doing the mission, ganking other people's mission. It was like 50 to 100 people working together. Hey, Cindy. Yes, I did end up getting that motherboard GPU combo. Quite literally, the difference between it and the one I got is just the one I got is a little bit higher end, and I can still return the one that I have for the higher end that I have currently and get it back. But as far as I know from PC Part Picker, it's entirely compatible with everything I already have. I knew Knowledge was going to come in and say and talk shit. Yes. Concern Star Citizen is going out of business in 2023. In 2025, yes. This game doesn't exist. It's not real. Well, I just knew that kind of shit was going to come up. Yeah, the Finishers came out. Basically, they were in the from Backstream. My name is Paul Berserker 01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here. At the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. Plus another 10 million from the Calders. Yeah. The Calders, I can tell you another thing. The Calders purchased all of the shares of what's his name? No, I gotta actually quit the game anyways because this thing's not working properly. Yeah. There you go. What's his name? Co-founder. Yeah, they're a UK company now. Ortwin, thank you. Yeah, they bought out Ortwin in 2024. I can find a link for it. We had it on my Discord. I think it does also explain a lot about why, because again, CIG's financials are 2 years old. It does explain why CIG shut down CIG LA. I think that's really what it explains, is that CIG, after purchasing this is the link. They probably won't shutter Austin because Austin generally, both in terms of technical terms and in terms of current like realities, is their main source of back-end support for like online services. They don't do all the patches, but they push all the patches. Yeah. Fairmouth's been gone since August or since summer of last year. He retired. It wasn't just that he like left CIG. He straight up retired. He's no longer doing work anywhere. Yeah. the reason why they shut down CIGLA is because it was expensive and it was small and it was mostly administrative. And it's not the first time CIG's lost money. CIG lost $2 million at one point in one of the years with the financials. It was like 2018, 2019. It's funny because at that comment, someone said, I have a fairly advanced accounting degree and teach at an Ivy college with published books. So let me explain. CIG are making money. This is good. CIG is spending that money. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. I think the big thing that the financials actually tell us is that CIG they have a hard limit. There's a reason why CIG is talking about 1.0 because they can't keep doing infinite development. They have to have a release. And that's another reason why I'm pretty certain that CIG is going to release Squadron 42 in 2026 come hell or high water, because they have to have a revenue source that's not Star Citizen in order for them to stay afloat. That's true. CIG is also doing pretty good this year overall for revenue or funding, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't also spending. And the other thing to keep taking account is 2023 is when they fucking purchased Turbulent outright. They need to have Squadron 42 actually be to actually make the money. It needs to stop being a money sink and actually be a revenue. But CIG is also in a unique position because most games have to pay back, basically have to earn back all of the money that was spent on them right away because the publishers demand the money you release so that you could sell it, and hopefully you sell more copies than it cost you to make it in the first place. But CIG has already took all the money that they have gotten to make Star Citizen Squadron 42. It's already been paid for. So CIG doesn't really have anyone to pay back except for maybe the Calders. And that's if the Calders want to divest from the company after Squadron 42 comes out. I highly doubt they will. From what I know about the Calders, from research, and from what I've heard about it through second, third-party sources, which, again, rumor, not really confirmed, is that they're friends with the Robertses. And so they see this as a means of developing the company further so that if they eventually sell the company, if Chris Roberts leaves the company or whatever, they'll have a large amount of money in return.
I'm sorry. Your vehicle has been moved to a storage system. Vehicle selected. Stand by. Your vehicle has been delivered to the police. Visit us again.
I think so. Here's the thing. Squadron 42 releasing on Steam means that it's going to make more money than I thought it was going to. And the big thing is that CIG just needs to make sure that Squadron 42 is good enough that it doesn't get panned critically, that it has enough of an impact that it can sell copies. It doesn't need to sell 1 billion copies to be able to be successful, because they don't need to make all of their money back right away. They just need to make sure that it is good enough that it sells well and continues to sell well over time. So if it releases and does okay, but not a big splash, but is a consistent seller over the course of a year, they'll be in a good position. Effectively, Squadron 42 needs to not suck in order for them to do okay. And from all signs so far, it doesn't look like it's going to suck. The Squadron 42 doesn't. It's not necessarily that Squadron 42 needs to pay the bills, because it's important to also note from 2023 is that they bought an entire fucking company, which was expensive, and they didn't do that in 2024. So And as somebody else pointed out, the difference between this year, they're like 8 million ahead of where they were last year. So if the question is, oh well, they're in the red by 10 million, then they're already kind of halfway almost caught up with that loss from 2 years ago, if they haven't already exceeded that. So Squadron can't release in the fall. Exactly. Like the problem comes down to at this point is that Squadron needs to be hold on. Go to the Golden Riviera. I mean, the reasoning for being in the red and overhead is more or less stays the same. This is to say that even Squadron 42 release is successful, whatever that means, they still have Star Citizen to make and not suck. So how many years is there still left? It really depends on how big the company they can maintain the company. I don't see CIG maintaining the company at its current size forever unless they continue to make Squadron 42 forever, you know, single player games forever, which is one of the things they hope to do. And one of the advantages of the current situation is that they're not really looking at a situation where they have to spend another 12 years to make another video game. Windfall. In your opinion, knowledge, that's not the opinion of the current situation, at least. If you look at the funding, at least, it seems like CIG's strategy of this is working so far. They're far ahead of what they were last year. They're even higher than they were in 2023, which is one of their biggest years. The thing that's only down is the number of new player signups, but there also hasn't been a free flight. I'm not saying CIG is crushing it and they're going to be fine forever. Like, no, there's an expiration date at some point on both Star Citizen and Squadron 42 and CIG. I've been saying for several years that they're going to come to a point where they can't develop, they have to release. And that Squadron 42 has to come out in order for them to do well. The idea that CIG is sort of just going to be developing forever was always a pipe dream, and it was always sort of like oh well, CIG is just going to sell ships forever and be fine. It's like that's not from the way CIG develops their game. How many expiration dates have passed already? How many predictive downfalls of Star Citizen and Squadron 42, you mean? I wonder if external economic factors will push a sooner release. We'll see. I don't think the big thing isn't 1.0 for CIG at this point, it's Squadron 42. But I also don't think they're in a situation where like they have to release tomorrow for Squadron 42 for it to be successful. But it really comes down to release date. If they release Squadron 42 at a shitty time, they're gonna fuck themselves. For the raid, welcome everyone from Space Tomato Stream. My name is Paul Berserker 1 Batman Shell, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub. Your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You got a good one for you. Hey, y'all do. There are tons of single-player games released with nobody cares about. Why would this be any different? Squad 42? Well, the biggest thing is that CIG is going forward is they have a fucking hell of a star power. And the easiest visible metric we can see in terms of how well Squadron 42 might do is to see the reaction, non-Star Citizen fans' reaction to Squadron 42's prologue. And it doesn't take a genius to see that if you look at something like, it's a lot of, there it is. If you look at the responses to the IGN version, you're not lowering the ending gear? All right, this is the one that has funky landing gear. What's the landing gear? Again, it's N, right? I have to manually lower the... I'm going to turn this off. Nah, this is one of those things. Those are my words. What? From the IGN trailer? Dude, look at the fucking IGN trailer. Look at the top comments. The top comments in the IGN trailer are all super positive. There's very few interactions with the negative comments on that trailer. Because most people don't know it has anything to do with Star Citizen, which is the funny part.
Weapon system off.
And if you look at the views, there we go. It's a funky bug with the Max. It may translate to Star Citizen being successful, but it doesn't really matter if it translates to Star Citizen being successful or not. All it matters is that it itself is successful because it's a revenue stream. And that revenue stream can go back into Star Citizen. I personally believe that the Star Citizen community and the Squadron 42 community are going to be very different. No, Callers have added lots of money since 2018. They added money last year. They bought out Ortwin. They don't have a controlling interest in the company. That's still Chris. But they're still a huge investor in CIG. But yeah, it's... Are you kidding me? Okay, I'm gonna... where is... Not trading post. Right, there you go. I'm like a light right in front of it, aren't I? There it is. Don't be mad at me, guys. I'm just the realist when it comes to money, I guess. I heard your comments about tariffs a while ago, Knowledge. I doubt I have concerns about that perspective, but okay. Darge has an entire right to do that kind of shit. A very specific 97 seconds. Well, the problem is also Knowledge also comes at it from a very specific point of view. Knowledge's perspective is that Star Citizen is a scam, and that Star Citizen is run poorly, and that that Chris Roberts is incompetent, and that the game is going to fail because management it's mismanaged routinely. And because of that perspective, he doesn't come at it from a position believing that anything that comes out of Star Citizen is necessarily going to be good. Though at the same time, I don't think that Knowledge believes that Star Citizen would fail just because it should fail, because it should meet their expectations. They wouldn't be here if they believe that. I think the easiest way of looking at it is it's from 2023. It is now 2025. Is Star Citizen not being developed? Is CIG falling apart? Is its mass chaos and panic in the streets? No. So the situation as it currently stands is we know that CIG purchased an entire company in 2023, which is one of the reasons why it is, it was like 10 million pounds in the red. Keep doing that. I hate that this does this. At least it does this now, though. But I do think it highly illustrates why CIG made a release date announcement of 2026, because they can't keep kicking that can down the road. They have to release a game. That's also one of the reasons why they decided they're going to do, they're focusing on 1.0. And as a result, because they have that point, they're at the point where they have to fucking rip that Band-Aid off. They have to just do it. No matter what. They can't just keep fucking around with these, like, well, what, this would be cool if, and they have to go. Which is, it's kind of like world builder's disease with writing. It's a very common thing amongst game devs that they want cool shit. And they make cool games and want to make cool things. So, that's just what they do. It's not unique to CIG. It's pretty common amongst a lot of different game developers, and it is a problem. Darge runs the JRDF, like the model set of JRDF. Darge is actually in business, Knowledge. Just because you run a business doesn't mean you're the only person who runs a business in the community. Yeah, because you're getting on his nerves. This isn't a free speech hug box. If my mods want to time you out for not liking you, they can do so. If I want to ban you because I think I don't want you around anymore, I'll ban your ass for not being around anymore. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Greed swords. I like calling them greed swords. I love conversations. I love debate. And I think that you bring up some good points every now and then, Knowledge. And there's no point in, like, saying you're no longer here anymore. Because, you know, I understand your perspective on things. At the same time, you can also reach that point where you let your own not senility. Yes, that's the wrong word. That means you're too old. Pessimism, I guess, on the project leads your thought, your thinking.
Launch sequence complete.
And that can be as damaging as letting your as a fan letting their faith and hope blind the reality of the situation. Cynicism? I think that's the right word we're saying. Cynicism. Mm-hmm. Like the basic, I teach economics. Like that is one of my jobs. That doesn't mean I necessarily 100% understand business, but I come from a family of business folks. My mom ran her own independent business, so did my dad. They both made mistakes, and I was actively participating in both of those businesses to help them out. So I've learned some things. And this is also a business. I have to pay taxes on it and all those sorts of things. So while I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form, there are some easy, simple ways of looking at things. Like, for instance, is CIG currently firing everybody in this company? No. Do they have layoffs? Yes. Are they still hiring people? Also yes. So it's clear that they were going restructuring because it was clear that the restructuring was needed, partially because they merged with another company or bought out another company, and partially because it was running too expensive. They were spending too much money. And so they were looking for places to downsize so that they didn't have to so they could restructure their employment. And it's clear they looked at, I'm sure they looked at both Austin and LA and decided to cut LA simply because LA is insanely expensive place to have an office. And the wages you have to pay for people in LA is very high. So the average person working in a job like a programmer in LA is probably at least just back of the napkin, because I know of how California's cost of living is. I would guess anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000 more than you would in anywhere else. So if you have somebody who makes is doing 3D design in LA, is it better to have that person be in LA or somewhere else? They're releasing the LA office. I believe so, yeah. Austin is also not as cheap anymore. That's 100% true. But it's still cheaper with the resources you get. Because the other thing is, what expertise do you get in a certain location? And if you look at almost every major software company, and just about every major hardware company in the world has an office, has some sort of campus in Austin for a reason. It's because it's one of the big tech hubs, especially around online technologies. And so what does CIG have in Austin? They have some of their best networking engineers, and they have their IT department, and they have the back-end services. It's platform. Their platform is in Austin, which makes sense because it's a place where you get those sorts of experts who can do those sorts of things. People like Waka and Redley Redley's not the right one. Dr. Rock. People like not just Waka, but their head of platform. Like he is. I know his real name. I'm trying to remember his Proxys is his handle. Proxys. Everyone knows Proxys. Proxys is a machine. Without Proxys, CIG would have fallen apart years ago. Not to mention people like Ahmed and Bearded, who both work at CIG Austin, who are both vital to developing the current online systems. So compare that to I love CIG LA. A lot of the people who work at CIG LA were fantastic, still exist, are fantastic writers and modelers, but like, can you get somebody to make a ship in let's say Montreal or Manchester? Probably. Can you get an online specialist in those places? Less likely. They're still there, obviously, because I mean Montreal has got a huge online technologies department, but that's the way. That's the problem about business. Is sometimes you go, fuck, I went too far. I need to figure out what we need to do to balance the sheets. And it sucks ass, but you got to cut. Sure. If that's your first thing come in and call it saying cope, then bye. Enjoy another stream. It was just a conversation we were having. So especially since it's the first time they show up, it's like you only came here because of the release of the financials. So you wanted to come here to be a little shitbag, isn't it? I see you, Dank. I see your response. Exactly, Chris. That's the point. I love my freelancer. Freelancers are good. They just need the big thing is they need to get an overhaul in terms of their usability. Like right now, they're just not very. Is that Orbit? Yeah, it's Orbit. I don't disagree, Knowledge. I don't think Star Citizen is going to be this sort of major fucking groundbreaking game that people hope it is. People still kind of cling on to hope it is. Cling on to their dreams and hopes that it will be. And CIG is going to have to release a game. But I think the focus is to say like, oh, well, Squadron 42 or Star Citizen is the main focus. I think Squadron 42 is still the main focus. And I think it has to release in 2026 or shortly after 2026. There's no more of this 2 more years shit that CIG's been doing. Buster might show up. All right, Jin. It's the topic at hand, Jin. It's one of those things it's going to talk about. I knew it was going to happen the second I saw that the release of the financials release. It's like, we're going to have that conversation today. Now, I will say that the conversation to be had, get around the debris, today is also going to be kind of divisive because the simplest way of to explain my perspective on the current situation with Align in mind is that CIG needs to start implementing instanced zones. We need to start having instanced events because CIG either needs to completely relook at how they do these sorts of big open world events in a way that supports the reality that 500 people could show up to any of these events at any given time, or they need to do what they've been doing recently, which is sort of pretending that this is still Squadron 42 and that they're developing missions for a specific set of people, like 1 to 5 or 6 to 12 sort of thing. And if you're going to pretend that this is going to only be or designed around, this many people, then you need to actually restrict access to these events to be around those types of people. And that's not a conversation that people want to have, because that's also a conversation that's going to end up people being like, well, that ruins the sandbox nature. And it's like, it's on CIG at this point. And the fact of the matter is that CIG's already talked about instance events with Nyx and with ArcCorp. So I think it's pretty clear that that's going to be the future of a lot of these events. Now, does that mean sandbox gameplay won't happen? Probably not, but it almost certainly still will. But the big focus of that is going to be, that's going to be the PvP aspect of the game, is going to be sort of sandbox fighting over locations like bases and resource-rich areas and stuff like that. So you'll see PvP be more of the open world, like the credits for the protections, like the seal token stuff. I think that's going to be much more open world, sandboxy, and hopefully what they've done with Align in Mind is more focused on that. Or what they've done in Align in Mind, they can learn from what they've learned in Align in Mind and then focus on that sort of experience and realize that they need to balance it for a certain number of people. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. No, of course not. I don't know if it's turning away people from participating, but I do think it's not a good move to lock entire story elements of the game, which are designed to be more inclusive of the like you want. If you're telling a story, generally speaking, you're going to want, especially a story which is CIG even sort of themselves talks about as being a non-combat side of the story, a B story which has a lot more to do with industrial and research and science, then you shouldn't lock science behind a combat event. Now, should CIG make it so that no combat is involved? Probably not, because that's one of the best loops they have in game right now that people enjoy. So it's probably better for them to diversify it where there is ways that players can achieve the goals of getting non-combat, or achieve the goals of what they need to get with non-combat encounters or non-combat focused encounters, and then faster ways of doing so with combat encounters. What I've heard is that there is actually ways of getting those specific those specific minerals you can currently get in the Align and Mine. You can find them in the wild, but they're rare. There's like a 9% chance or something like that of them showing up other places. So while it's not like impossible, it's much rarer to see it otherwise. I asked Elliot the exact same question if they're spawning anywhere. In a sec, I'll find out. Sure. I don't think Elliot is stupid, and I know Elliot can make good design, can design good missions. He made the entirety of, or he was the lead behind Siege of Orison, which is become one of my favorite events in the game. Like, I know Elliot knows what he's doing. The question is more, is Elliot getting the support they need, and is also like how much is this is sort of the mission team experimenting with ideas, and how much of it is this is what we're going from deal with it, like from now on deal with it. Can't sell ETAM here? I thought you could sell ETAM here. Where can you sell ETAM? Starlight, that's where you can go sell it. Okay, that's where I was wrong. Let's go to Starlight.
Might look into doing some more work for them.
You can tell it's Elliot because every other word is spelled wrong. Carnage, Elysium, and Sedium are currently only available while doing the Hathor flow, but I don't feel like Ifomo Wick is here to stay. If everyone's focusing on it now, you won't engage in that PvP. It currently happens. It can wait. While I understand that, it's also aren't these events also supposed to be able to be accessed for the story event, for the Rayari story event? Because then that'll put even more of a focus on that. Rayari missions don't, but that's not necessarily the same thing as the story event. Are the Rayari missions the story event? I thought they were going to be doing a separate event with the Rayari chain. Hathor is here to stay. It's Ghost Hollow. Hathor is Ghost Hollow. It's Ghost Hollow 2.0. And Wick is not going anywhere. Wick is just going to get more missions added to them. They're a complete storyteller. We may even meet Wick in person at some point. And yeah, I've also know that some of the Rayari missions do require the rocks. Rayari wants Saldinian. No, I agree. Rastak. There's definitely a problem of doing flavor of the month combat encounters, especially since they typically, like I just mentioned, Ghost Hollow. Once you finish Ghost Hollow once, it's pretty much done. There's not much of a desire to do it at all, and it just sort of people just move from new thing to new thing, and CIG doesn't utilize those assets in the future in any way, shape, or form. The rare missions are the B story. Okay.
Welcome to the
So it's just the same 7 missions repeated.
Your vehicle has been reinstated as a game.
Then I agree with Lady Space Patrol on this one. I think it's bad mission design to say that, oh well, the science people need to go do combat to do science. Like, what? That's an entirely different gameplay loop. If you're making everyone do combat in the game, then there's no non-combat gameplay. CIG needs to figure out how to do sandbox gameplay that don't require combat. I'm not saying that don't risk combat, because that's Star Citizen, but require combat. Because like even if even no PvPers showed up to the event and it was just you, you'd still have to shoot NPCs. Yeah, mining is the focus, but it's not. Mining isn't the focus. Combat is the focus. Mining is the secondary activity.
You can even take away my space lasers, but you can never, ever take away my space game.
Irritated_Consi just resubscribed for 24 months. It's not like anyone will camp Hathor after the rush is over. Kappa.
Thank you so much, Irritated, considerably for that 24 months of support. You're very important public brand, participating pedestrian. This is your fault. Use we're drinking night. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Again, I continue to say the problem isn't that CIG should cater entirely to non-combat people. It's just that they need to give people who don't want to participate in combat a way to not participate in combat, and not just be like, go find somebody, because it's like, find who? Your systems aren't in place to let people match up with anybody else. You have to use outside systems, and you can't even trust those people necessarily because anything can happen. You can't hire NPC support to help you out with that. There's so many systems that are not in place that don't allow you to deal with those things. Fuck, they don't even have PvP bounty hunting anymore. And this chain, the Hathor stuff, would be so much better with PvP bounty, because there would be actual players there to hunt down players who are being shit asses. Like 100%. Oops. I think they'll add non-combat options, but not for most sandbox activities, and that's not learning from Star Wars Galaxies. That's a fundamental misunderstanding of Star Wars Galaxies. There are large sections of Star Wars Galaxies that required zero combat. And if they're like, hey, we're looking at Star Wars Galaxies as a model, then you're not. That's your answer. Yeah, that's what I say. Have the minables be available at a low drop rate in other places. That way players could still mine those areas, or just have a general low chance of a drop. And then you could, so players could still have a chance to go do it, even if it's not fully committing to the event. It's just that the event is faster. tried using the Geo earlier today, and the rocks were intangible. You and Lady Space Patrol both have said that, yeah. Do you think that once the event is over, the resources will be more widely available if rare? Maybe. Yeah, like right now, CZs are super easy to do because few people do them. Moons are bugged. It's like I know the problem with the cargo elevators. The cargo elevators that are broken are a very specific version of the cargo elevator, which is the ones that are similar to the ones you see in like small and medium hangars, but on the ground locations. Those are the ones that always are broken. It's always those. Everyone else works. There's funky sometimes, but they work. So the problem is that style of hangar specifically is causing problems, or cargo elevators causing problems. Elevator's broken, yeah. Like cargo hangars at your home planet, for instance. I think most of the cargo elevators work on the ground locations in a hangar. It's just not on the actual, like, surface of planets. People thought that that BattleTech Gothic was an April Fool's joke. No, it's a full fucking game. They have it. I think it's released, isn't it? The box set. Again, the central location focus forces mass PvP and combat. You still have risks, but way lower, spread it over 50 caves or something. That was my point. They need to. They could. There's many ways they could do it, and they could do all of them at once. Which is right now they could increase. They could double the number of locations. And that would spread people out so it wouldn't be as so focused. They could also change the locations to being high yield and low yield, and they could even label them that, and have 2 locations be high yield and 2 locations be low yield. So you don't get as many in the low yield, so more people are going to be focused on the high yield because they'll want, especially large groups. So you then have a natural filter of large and small groups depending on where they go. You'll still have people being shit asses in the low yield areas, but it's probably going to be less likely because you have a higher chance of encountering players in the high yield. Yeah, I know there's 4 locations spread over 2 moons. What I'm saying is they need to have 8 locations spread over 4 moons. CZs are still active, but not as many large groups because they're over in Stanton, and there are also a lot of players upset at constantly losing rewards from the CZ. Like ships and stuff are being wiped. And the problem is that's not going to be a priority for CAG because they just created the CZs, and so they're moving on to the new and shiny, and they're not going to sit there and fix the CZs when they've got new and shiny. They may not have the resources to do so. And that's the constant problem with Star Citizen and its development, is that CIG would build something new, say, go, it's done, and then move on to something else, while that thing then breaks, and then they don't have the resources or time to go back and fix that thing. Like, they may try to fix it for a patch or two, and then they just ignore it. Components and weapons mainly? Okay. Oh no, you're flying one horrible ship. I love this ship. What are you talking about?
You can even take away my space lasers.
No PPUs.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Revan_actual just resubscribed for 52 months. Pub day sub day.
Thank you so much for that 52 months of support. You're a very important pupper, very impressive, persevering pedestrian. Thank you, Raven Actual. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. What you're saying is they should have started with basics like quests, items, and item end games like crafting, quests, etc., and economy, and all this back end stuff taken care of, as opposed to adding alien NPC that really to turn for one specific event. I don't think saying that like Wicklow is a bad use of resources, because it's just more of a priority situation. Wicklow being added, Wicklow is not a situation where you need those same individuals to be doing things like quests, for instance. That's like, you can't really. Wicklow, an animator isn't going to be working on balancing the economy. God, I don't want animators balancing the economy. Holy fuck, I know enough animators to know that it's a bad idea. My cousin is an animator. I would not trust him with an economic balance sheet. He does a lot of my emotes, in fact. But what I'm saying is that CIG should have had these planned out well in advance and stuck to the fucking plan, instead of just kind of going, well, this is new and shiny, I'd rather do this. I know it's sort of like, hey, but that's how we keep people invested in the game, both externally and internally, and continue to let designers design, but, you know, they also need a release on their CV. There's a balance there, and I think CIG has routinely fucked up that balance of what Jared says, not being afraid of something new, and, you know, putting something the fuck out. A great example of this is, while I think that there are some problems with it because nothing is perfect, Elite Dangerous is currently eating Star Citizen's lunch in terms of releases and what it's doing. Yeah, is it as where are we? It's down here, right? There it is, yeah. Is it as, like, engrossing as the things that Star Citizen wants to do in terms of, like, base building and stuff? Probably not. But it's got base building in it, well ahead of Star Citizen. And that goes to show you that, you know, the team at Frontier did the right thing, which was build the base version first and then evolve it later. Go back and fix the problems later. Does that mean that Frontier's been perfect all the time? No. I mean, like, the Horizons release itself was a shit show. But at the same time, they've recovered. And CIG is still sort of languishing on this. And that's the problem. If CIG has a culture problem where it's more fun to make something new than it is to fix something, which I'm sure it is, and that's the only way you can keep your devs around, then you've hired the wrong devs. You need a culture of people who are willing to put in the work and make a video game, not people who want to make a pretty shiny thing and then leave afterwards to go work on pretty shiny things other places. I wouldn't be nearly as critical of CIG if they didn't just finish the server meshing, and they're kind of going like, well, all of the things we wanted to do with server meshing, we cut about half of it out. And now we're maybe going to do it in the next 5 years. And it's like, oh, fuck off. Come on. No, yeah, no, engineering was bad. I've heard that engineering has improved since then, though. And again, I'm also biased. I am of the opinion move fast and break shit is better than like make everything perfect the first time. And there's no investment. There's no reason to do things. Do they want people to finish 142 and say, oh, I'll try out the online part of the game, load up and go, oh, it's janky mess, and then never come back? I think what we're seeing currently with CIG, and again, keep in count, it's been 3 months, at most 6 months since they did this, but 3 months of actual implementing it, is that CIG has realized what I just said, and they're starting to make that change, while still releasing new content because they're afraid that if they don't release new content, they will lose the interest of players. But it's a slow process. And it's probably going to take them all year to get it to a point where they actually have fixed the game in a way that players are interested in. But I also think that that's going to be a problem. They have to do it. They have to learn, or they're going to have to start prioritizing things in terms of like what needs to get fixed faster. No, the engineering doesn't need gold pass. Engineering just needs functionality, and most of the ships have the functionality. But engineering is one of those things where it's a catch-22. Engineering is needed for the game in order for Star Citizen to actually be the game that they want it to be. Same with scanning. But it also is too volatile to add to the game to make the game playable. Yet at the same time, the problems that people are having in terms of engagement in the game come down to the fact that they don't keep their rewards. They don't keep their they're experiencing serious problems with basic gameplay functionality, like not being able to mine rock minables after they added it to the game this patch. Half the time, the current situations with the Align and Mine doesn't function. Ground-based locations for cargo elevators are broken. So like half of the basic features of the game, half of the basic gameplay loops of the game just don't work. So when you see people go, great, Align and Mine is in, but I can't do it because it doesn't work. It's like, why participate? And then that becomes the issue, is that adding things just for the sake of adding things to get, new shiny and people coming in, how long is that? That's going to have a limited ability in terms of attracting players, if that's its goal. If its goal is just testing the mission systems out, I mean, I get it. But from what I understand, this is the attempt at trying to keep people engaged with the content. Another great example of this is Fight for Pyro, where like, oh, this is the stories you're trying to tell? This story's ass. This story sucks balls. Please figure out how to tell stories in this environment. In KCG2, they had blacksmith crafting where you could actually swing a hammer and make a sword. I wish CIG had crafting like that. It's not even that complicated for that one. That's just a mini game. KCG2 is a mini game. It's not actually you're swinging a hammer. It's just an animation with timing. And I'm sure we'll have some sort of mini game associated with crafting that's similar to that, but it's going to be a screen or a beam. Yeah, quick time event. That's all it is. Well, the economy is important, but reputation is more important. Like the 3 things, or I would say the 4 things that I think CIG really needs in the game before they can start, in my opinion, I'm not a technical person in this. I could be entirely wrong. I'm looking at this from a layman's perspective, is engineering, scanning, crafting, and base building. Those are the 4 things they need in the game before actually sitting down and saying, let's fix the fucking game. because once you have all of those things in, you have all of the basic things that function in the game. There are some other things like science, but science is really just sort of an extension of scanning and crafting. And engineering, probably, all three of those. And once you've added those into the game, connecting those things like engineering to mining and salvage is probably a big deal. Same with crafting and mining and salvage. All those things add more flavor. And you also having things like faction reputation, which is in the game now but not working properly. Those sorts of things matter as well. But it feels a lot of wasted effort for building the stuff in the game right now, fixing the game stuff right now, which every patch something else new breaks. The new and interesting breaks in the game. Like chopping a tree is a quick switch from a full state of a tree to pile of logs. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. CIG has to figure this out they've got probably 2 years before they start losing a lot of momentum. CIG is also bad at keeping. Unless another divine intervention happens like COVID. COVID was the best thing that happened to Star Citizen. I've heard it again. I've heard that again. This year, it's not like 2 years of like improvements. It's more of, I think they have 2 years until they have another situation where they're going to have to start closing offices. To either release Squadron 42 or to improve Star Citizen to 1.0 status. That doesn't mean that everything's on fire now and everything doesn't work or the CIG is going to fail tomorrow. That's hyperbolic shit. CIG is fine as it current stands, but they have a long-term problem rather than a short-term problem. A mid to long-term problem right now.
You can take away my spaceship.
The best thing happened was Crytek couldn't pay their people. Yeah, I mean, they've had a series of lucky rolls. Their luck is insane. I'll just say that.
But you can never,
Never.
ever take away my space game.
Sisiano just resubscribed for 17 months. POGGERS.
Thank you so much for that Twitch Prime sub for 17 months. You're very important, Popper. Very impressive, Pisser. Very interesting. This, your fault. You're going to be good night. Trust and cheers in chat, y'all. Trust and cheers. Luck is just recognizing opportunity. Yeah, no, I mean, I will say, between Chris Roberts and Sandy Roberts, or Sandy Gardner, they are, and the rest of the management team at CIG seem to be very, very good at recognizing opportunities when it hits them. And they've had they've never wasted an opportunity to improve their financial status and to improve their studios. And to give them the benefit of the doubt, none of them have built a studio this large, and so they're figuring it out on the fly of how to do this. Chris, I think, never had a studio more than 100 people. Digital Anvil is a studio. I don't think it was more than 100 people. And most of these folks, even Aaron, who had developed more modern games with the Lego teams, I don't think the teams that he ran at Lego were more than 100 people. So running a 1,000+ person game studio with 4 different countries over 2 different continents is pretty impressive and pretty difficult to manage.
Take away my space game.
Yeah, and they've grown way faster than they should.
McBain48 just resubscribed for 2 months. Forgot I had a Prime sub not being used. This is more than deserving of it.
Thank you to McMahon for that prime sub for 2 months. You're a very important pupper, very impressive, very pedestrian. This is your fault. You're drinking tonight. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Yeah, I'm glad you're coming, Wander. By the way, since CIG is officially canceled an in-person Citizen Con, your best chance at meeting the community in North America for a large group gathering is now Quantum Vegas, which is going on in Vegas on July. Look up the actual date. It's like July 12th, I think. Go to quantumvegas.com. Oh, quantumvegas.space. Why is there no dates? Damn it. It doesn't have dates. It has a timer countdown. That's a problem. Oh, there's a date. July 12th. It was July 12th. That was right. For the people we have mostly confirmed, but not fully confirmed, is Kim Ellis, who's the voice of Ava Huxley for EE Studios. Sean Tracy, who is Senior Director of Tools and Tech Content. Serious Fun, who's my fellow moderator for it. Galactica, the social media manager for CIG, and also former social media manager for Wargaming, the for World of Warships. Natronics from EE Studios, Star Jump Grim, myself, and Tyler Whitkin, who's the head of director of community for Cloud and Premium Games. But it's not just the CIG will be there. We'll also have community events and actions. So it's like a big get together. It's like a big bar citizen, but mixed with a little bit of fan stuff put together. So. Yes, CitizenCon is going to be virtual, not in person. Yeah, I think CitizenCon Direct is going to be more Squadron 42 Direct than anything, but... I think CitizenCon should be canceled until 1.0. With LA no longer being open and Austin still being expensive, and with the kind of crazy shit that's going on with US politics right now in terms of international travel, I wouldn't put it in the US, and it may also be complicated with outside of the US for those sort of things. So just not having one is probably a good idea this year. And I think generally speaking, cost wise, it's probably a good idea to not have one for the next 2 or 3 years. I don't know if anyone asked you, but how do you feel about we won't have a CitizenCon? I like the idea. I've always thought that CitizenCon was not for the players or for the fans. It was for the developers to have their own little mini GDC. But I also felt like it was a pretty elaborate expenditure for morale boosts. Do you have to buy a ticket for Digital Con? Usually no. I don't think CIG, but CIG usually does some sort of digital package, so you can buy like a digital gift package. GDC, Games Done, Game Development Conference. It's an annual, I think there's multiple GDCs now, but effectively it's where game developers come together and they see presentations from other game developers on various aspects of gaming. So I remember one year there was an entire kind of presentation by the developers at Raresoft about their fluid physics and the water physics that they created for Sea of Thieves. There was one from the developers of Ultima Online that talked a little bit about what's important, what they learned about what's important for players in terms of online experiences. So, and then like that Ultima one was done in like 2010, like 2011. So, yeah. And GDC is where Chris Roberts announced Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. They're not doing an in-person Star Citizen U. They made an announcement that they're doing they're calling it CitizenCon Direct, in a kind of mimicking Nintendo. I really enjoy CitizenCon. With CIG pushing Squad 42 next year, do we want half the office stuck with 3 months with COVID? Yeah. You think May Ironclad will be out or sit in CitizenCon Direct? I think the Ironclad comes out CitizenCon Direct, and I think the Perseus comes out in Invictus, not Invictus, IAE. Question, do you believe CitizenCon is digital this year because they're going to release ramp up for Squadron 42 releases? From the sources I have inside CIG, and again, this is rumor, do not take this as 100% gospel. This is just from people I've heard. That is the point. The point is that they want to focus on the release of Squadron 42, and they want to ramp up more of a advertisement to bring awareness to Squadron 42's existence beyond the Star Citizen bubble. So a lot of the money that would normally go into a CitizenCon is going into them possibly going to other events like Gamescom to promote Squad 42. And that's the Doritos Bold rumor of the stream. Listen, the reason why, like, the amount of shit that I've been told by CIG developers is fucking astronomical. Like that place leaks like a sieve. I just usually don't talk about it because two things. One, CIG tends to change their mind every 3 to 6 months, and often it's not fully changed but modified. So I could say something, and then 3 months later, CIG could come to pass, but it's not exactly what I said before. And so it's like, I don't want to like say something and then have people be like think it's like, oh, well, it's not what you said or whatever. And it's only recently that I've started talking about it, mostly because there's a lot of folks who got laid off from CIG who I like. And I was like, fuck it. I'm not getting anything by not talking about it. I don't benefit by not talking about it. And if I just say, listen, this is what I hear, don't take it as take it as rumor before it's actually released, before it's actually true. You know. I don't even have to get them drunk. Half the time they just still tell me shit. Like, stop telling me this shit. Strong Nintendo Direct vibes, yeah. So things like the current rumor that I've been hearing from multiple sources is that CIG is going to release Squadron 42 in on Steam, and possibly even on Epic and other game stores as well, which I think is the good move. So is the Misk Raptor releasing? Yes, but it's a background asset. You won't be able to use it. Even some people inside CIG may not know specifically and speculate. The number of people I know who work on Squadron 42 who don't know shit that I know about Squadron 42 is shocking. It is shocking, the number of people. And I'm like, maybe they changed it and I didn't, but then like, I asked somebody else and they confirmed, no, that's still in the game. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you work on this game and you don't know this? So yeah, there's a lot of folks who are compartmentalized in CIG. Well, I mean, imagine somebody works in the Frankfurt office, and another person works in the Manchester office. Those people probably rarely talk to each other, especially if they're not on the same teams. Like if they're like one works for, this is just not trying to, don't try to use this as a nail down or anything like that. But let's just say one person works in QA and the other person works in, well, maybe they both work in QA, but one works in QA on Squadron and the other works on Star Citizen. They may not talk to each other or deal with each other a lot. Though I know a lot of Squadron QA who work on Star Citizen and vice versa. They get pulled frequently, and that's like, they're two different offices across. Baseball, I think baseball is coming this year, based off a lot of different things. Thank you for that raid. Welcome, everybody. Who is this? Is this Vertigo? Vertigo is going to be on here, too. It's going to be Vertigo and Red J. Hey, it's Vertigo. Welcome, everyone, from Vertigo Stream. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Show, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. Do I ever get tired of that? Nah. Been doing it for 10 years. I'll keep doing it until I get arthritis. We're going to be talking a little bit about 4.1. I've got a nice sensationalist title, which is the failures of 4.1 PvPvE content. But yeah, it has been nearly 10 years as well. Yeah. Well, I actually have been doing this. So, like, for instance, right now, there goes freedom. Like right now I have a volume limiter on my mic. So my mic is jacked all the way up to the top, but I have a limiter. So you should I'm peaking at negative 10 decibels. And then on the regular audio on the captain's table, it is also at negative 10 decibels. So that way, no matter how loud they get, they'll only peak at a certain point for most of you. So I have limited everybody. Would Arena Commander standalone on Steam work? I still personally believe that. I think Arena Commander as a free-to-play game is a good move. The only issue I can think of is that it would require it would require its own team to maintain. They already have a team for developing it, but they would need a team who's dedicated to just balance and bug fixing and all those things with just that. And that would cost a lot of money. And the question is, how much revenue could they get from that in order to do that, in order to justify those things? Yeah, like a free or a low cost, but they definitely would need things like transactions, in-game transactions, so that you'd be able to buy things from the game. So unlocks, obviously, and those sorts of things, but also buy stuff in the games. Hats, lots of hats. All right, I'm gonna take this over. I gotta get set up for the captain's table. So I'll be. If those of you watching on YouTube, stick around, because when we swap over to the captain's table itself, you watching on YouTube will automatically swap over to the new chat. So yeah. Yeah, selling skins, but you need to be able to access it from in-game. That is another one of my hills that I'm dying on. CIG needs to make everything in the fucking game. I need to be able to purchase stuff on the store in the goddamn game. I don't want to have to go to the website for fucking anything, except for maybe discussions, and even then that should be optional. The lore, purchasing, everything needs to be in game. I also should be able to earn all that shit in game too. I don't believe there should be anything other than maybe some very specific fancy skin that you should be able. Everything should be able to be earnable in game. And why we don't have fucking in-game paint skins that you can earn or purchase in game right now is beyond me. We've had skins, so many skins you can purchase right now that aren't in anywhere in the game. Yeah. All right. Be right back, chat. Yeah, there's a couple in game right now, but there needs to be more. There's just like all of those have been in the game for like 3 years. They haven't added a new skins to the game since like 3.10 or 3.15. Hey, chat. Yeah, no, we're just setting everything up. So we'll be right back.